In today's video, we're going to talk about why more socialization and more training of your adult dog is one of the worst things you can do to stop the barking, lunging, and growling. Hey everybody, I'm Denise Mazzola, this is Geo, this is Minty, and we are from Everything Dog, where we talk about aggression and reactivity, the barking, lunging, and growling, and all the things that you can do to try to stop it, and some of the things that you might be doing to make it worse. And before I forget, if you like what you hear here and you're looking for more information, be sure you reply COM in the comments below the video, and I will be sure to send you the link so you can register for our next live free webinar, how to stop your dog's aggressive and reactive behavior without spending hours on socialization, obedience, or expensive boot camps. Okay, so I know that everybody has told you you need to socialize more, you need to train more. Family, friends, veterinarians, groomers, other trainers, people on the street have yelled this to you: you need to socialize, you need to train more. And so when everybody's telling you that, then you may have enrolled in doggy daycare, you may have go to dog parks, you may have stopped having family and friends over because you're so worried your dog is going to bite someone and need to be put down, like you're just not going to take that risk anymore, and it's so unpleasant that you don't want to do it. You may have dogs that are fighting in the house, and you may have some dogs that are resource guarding. So in an effort to socialize, you may have also gone to big box stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, pet stores that let you bring your dog into in an effort, and the mentality is to think like, oh, I'm going to expose my dog to more people. I'm going to show my dog more dogs. I'm going to have them play with more dogs in an effort for what you think is more socialization, so that they learn to like people, they learn to realize that people aren't going to hurt them, or they learn to like other dogs. But if your dog's underlying issue, which we have talked in some previous live videos about, is fear, anxiety, if we're talking about an inherited situation, like you noticed when they came to you as a puppy that it took them a week to warm up to you, or you noticed as a puppy that your dog was petrified of other dogs, like just went screaming away or wouldn't come out from under the chair, whatever it is, right? There's a high probability that when you see those things at such an early age, that we have some very strong genetic components to that. It's not to say that we can't make it better, but you're not going to completely get rid of it either, because it's an inherited trait. It's, as Gene Donaldson says, it's installed at the manufacturer, which I think is a cool little way to say that. Okay, so let's get back to everybody's telling you to socialize and train. So in terms of socialization, you're, by doing the things that I've just listed, dog parks, doggy daycare, box stores, all that kind of stuff, you're actually causing your dog to stay stuck in an emotional dysregulation cycle. What is that? Emotional dysregulation cycle is when your dog is nervous system is overwhelmed and short-circuiting, and it keeps them stuck in fight or flight. And listen, nobody, dog, human, anybody, can learn when they're in a fight or flight mode, right? Fight or flight puts you in primitive brain, you're dump full of adrenaline and cortisol, and you've just got one thing in mind, which is survival, survival, survival. Whether it's get away from the person, get away from the other dog, that kind of thing. Okay, so what does this have to do with anything? It has to do with everything. It's everything, right? It has to do with all of it. So let's say that you take your dog out for a walk every day to try to help them with more socialization or more training. You're doing with me and slapping your leg, you're distracting with treats, you may be asking them to sit, you may be telling them to be quiet. There's any number of things, right, that we've been trying to do. So you go out every day on your walk, and every day on your walk your dog is barking, lunging, and growling. All of those emotional outbursts are keeping your dog stuck in the emotional dysregulation cycle, and is keeping their system flooded with adrenaline and cortisol day after day after day. And it's counterproductive to stopping the barking, lunging, and growling, because the number one thing we need to do to stop the barking, lunging, and growling is get a handle on all the underlying issues that your dog may be having. And so today we're sort of talking about that in terms of anxiety, fearfulness, maybe they've had a bad experience. It can be any number of things. And it doesn't have to be multiple bad experiences. It could be just one that puts them over the edge. So when you take your dog out for a walk every day, maybe you take them in the car every day and they're barking and growling in the car. Maybe you're still walking to dog parks every day or a couple of days a week. And every time your dog is barking, lunging, and growling, they have this shot of adrenaline, shot of cortisol. They're still in an emotional dysregulation cycle. They're still in fight or flight. Day after day after day, which keeps them in a place of being trigger stacked. And trigger stacking is when you have a stressful event and then a stressful event and a stressful event and a stressful event. You can have multiple big stressful events. You can have cumulative smaller stressful events, but it leads to what could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, to where you have an out of proportion response to something smaller, right? So to something smaller that you're like wondering, why is this happening? So that can be one way that trigger stacking presents itself, this out of proportion response, whether it's from us or our dog, from something that we think they've never barked or lunged at that thing before. That can be a symptom of being trigger stacked. It can also be, you can also just know that if your dog is barking, lunging, and growling on a day-to-day basis, that they are trigger stacked and you're keeping their system flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. So what do we need to do? Well, I'm going to tell you something that probably nobody else has told you. It's going to go completely against the grain, and you need to stop walking. You need to take them out of daycare, stop walking them, stop taking them in the car. If you have a backyard and it's fenced in whatever method it is, but they're out there screaming and barking at the neighbors or anybody else, you need to be out there with them. So as soon as that nonsense stops, you can bring them back inside. The first goal is discover the underlying issue. The second goal is we need to put a stop to all the barking, lunging, and growling. We need to get the trigger stacking down so that we can start to calm down their nervous system. Now, it's not forever. There's a lot of other things that you need to be doing in the meantime, but that's the number one thing that you can do is just stop walking, because your dog is not enjoying it. And clearly, if it was going to make it better, they would be better by now, right? Because of the thousands of clients that I've worked with. They've all been dedicated, they've done all the socialization things, and they've been frustrated and confused because it's not working. Right, it's not working because your dog is staying stuck in an emotional dysregulation cycle because they are trigger stacked. So that's the number one thing you need to do. That's why more socialization and more training is not going to help your dog. More training is not going to help because your dog can't learn when they're stuck in fight or flight. Nobody can. Like, try to give me a recipe or directions or even a compliment if I am having an emotional outburst about a spider that's too close to me, right? That's just not going to happen. Okay, guys, so listen. If you want to be a part of our next live free webinar called How to Stop Your Dog's Aggressive Reactive Behavior Without Spending Hours on Socialization Training or Expensive Boot Camps, reply CALM in the comments and we will send you that link so that you can join us. And I look forward to seeing you there. You'll be able to ask some questions in the chat box about what we're talking about that night, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope to see you there. Have a great day. You guys ready? I got to teach them to wave.